we're going to talk about getting to know your crossbow. No, we're not. Happy EEKtober, everybody. We are here for 31 days of scary movies, and today is day 31. It's Halloween. We made it for one of two films in this double feature. I'm your host, Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker, and when I speak, my topic is Take the Doughnut. It's another way of saying Carpe Diem. Go after the things that you want in life. It comes from this weird thing that happened to me in college where I left an actual donut on a table. And that became an object lesson for me and what it looks like to leave an opportunity behind. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take the donut now. From time to time, I'll issue myself a Take the Doughnut challenge. I'll say there's something that I want to do and I'll make it official. I'll hold myself accountable to it. And this time I'm opening it up to anybody who wants to join. We're doing 31 days of scary movies. That's right. Today is Halloween. Today is day 31, and we are watching Ready or Not. This is from 2019. It's a horror comedy, and I put it in the not too scary category because I think it's not too scary. Look, my scary meter is busted. What do I know? But I'm pretty sure this one's doable for a wider audience. This was directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, and it's written by Guy Busick, R. Christopher Murphy, and it stars a whole bunch of amazing people. We've got Samara Weaving as Grace, Mark O'Brien as Alex, Adam Brody as Daniel, Henry Cerny as Tony, Andy McDowell as Becky, Melanie Scrofano as Emily, Christian Brun as Fitch, and Elise Levesque as Charity. Some general notes, because goodness, I love this film so much. Look, okay, so first of all, I should say this. When I sequenced the films for EEKtober, there was some logic behind it, but it wasn't necessarily in the order of least to most favorite, because I was trying to sort of separate I was trying as much as possible to sort of have some distance between the not too scary films, and I was trying to have some distance between films of different time periods and different subgenres. So there was some logic to how I sequenced it. However, the last two films are the last two films that I always watch in a Halloween period on a Halloween day. So I'll always do Hush as my last film and Ready or Not as my second to last film. And I think that makes Ready or Not my second favorite horror movie of all the horror movies I've ever seen. I love this film. I love it so much. I love it more every time I watch it. And I really loved being able to sit down and take notes about it to see what new things I could find. And I am going to encourage you to tell me about things that I missed in this video because I love it all. Why do I love this film? First of all, lots of reasons. Let's start with Samara Weaving, who has the most unique operatic original scream I have heard. There is nothing quite like her scream, and her scream gets better as the film goes on. But it's very distinct, and there are a lot of people who have screamed in a lot of horror movies, so it's hard to do that. Very impressive. She really carries this film. But I don't want to say she carries it alone because everybody's amazing in this film. But obviously, she needs to work for this film to work, and it works. And, look, I am a sucker for a good female protagonist, and getting that first look of Grace in her slightly torn, her ripped up wedding dress and her sneakers and her 8-gauge shotgun and the ammo slung around her, looking in a mirror, just makes you think, wow, what an iconic moment that feels like for me. I don't know if people would consider it iconic. I feel like iconic is, I don't know, it's hard to judge that sort of so close to a situation. But for me, there's nothing quite like seeing that image. Also, as another general note before I get into any other people, a lot of times things that are scripted as comedies don't work really well for me because I don't know, I think I've had a bit of an improv background, so something about that, it works better for me if something's on the fly or if something is a drama with comedy in it because the comedy surprises me. This film worked for me. The comedy in this film works for me. And I don't know because it's got dramatic or horror elements and then you add the comedy on top, but whatever they did here, I want more of it. So good. Okay. We've talked about Samara Weaving and now we need to talk about Mark O'Brien. Okay. Because you may know, if you're on this video, if you're at this channel, you may know that I also have a Halt and Catch Fire podcast. I've gone really deep into the Halt and Catch Fire universe, and that show aired from 2014 to 2017. This film came out in 2019. So if you like that show, you know Mark O'Brien as Tom Rendon. I have had the great fortune of being able to do not only a deep dive into the episodes of that show, but also a deep dive doing interviews with cast and crew. And my interview, look, I don't want to say favorites. My interview with Mark was one of a couple, two, three top favorite interviews that I have done of that show. He is so switched on. He remembered every detail of that show like it was yesterday. I was so engaged in that conversation with him, and it felt that he was very engaged with me. What a cool chat. And then to be able to talk a little bit about some of the work that he's done since as well was fascinating. So if you like this film and you like Mark O'Brien, check out that interview, but it is spoiler filled for Halt and Catch Fire. So go watch Halt and Catch Fire. EEKtober's over. It's time. Everybody go find Halt and Catch Fire, please. Thank you. He is so good in this role. He's so good in everything I've seen him in. His character is so tricky because it's easy to love Grace, you know? It's really hard to put your finger on what's happening with Alex, and that has to be interesting, and it is. And that comes from decisions that Mark O'Brien plays, decisions he makes and how he's going to play Alex. So we'll talk about that as we get into the scenes, but it's a complicated character. You need to not know what you feel about that character, and that even needs to have some definition around it. And for me, it does. Now, another character that's super fun is going to be Daniel, and that is played by Adam Brody. And look, anytime Adam Brody's in something, it just has you gotta love Adam Brody. I mean, look, I don't know that he wants to have the OC follow him around forever for his whole life, but I think there is a certain nostalgia about him as an actor, and you want him to do well. I want to see him in other roles. I don't want to see him in the OC forever. I want to see him in other roles, and I'm very happy when I do. So it was fun to see him in this one because he makes some really cool choices in this film, and the character itself is a good meaty character. So very fun. Now, another thing that makes this film uniquely designed to be my second favorite film of all horror films is the fact that this is set in a mansion. And I have long wanted to be able to explore a mansion. I mean, it's like a dream of mine to have just a huge mansion with secret doors to explore. I watched the movie Clue when I was younger, and my mind went wild with it. And I've always wanted this when I was young. And if we would ever go on family vacations to like famous homes or anything, and sometimes they'd rope off sections of houses, I'd be like, what's behind the rope? I always wanted to know. This film is not only going to show you all the cool parts of the mansion that you see publicly, it's going to bring you into the service passageways too. And they've got weird extra buildings and barns with other weird chutes and like, well, I love this place. If I could take time to explore it, I would, but I'm going to have to go through this film to do it. So between all of those things, this film is very uniquely set up, very uniquely positioned to be something that I love. Well, let's get into the scenes themselves, because I have a lot to say about this film, and I think it'll be easier to get there as we go through the scenes. But if I miss something, I want you to tell me the really cool stuff about this film that you spotted that I missed, because I want to know everything. Okay, we start with Thunder. We open on a game, LaBelle's Gambit. We'll learn more about who that is and what that means, but the tagline is take a risk, gain the advantage. We're going to pan right, and we're going to pan through shelves of different old-timey board games, and we can see just sort of the different eras of the board games in terms of the graphic design of the packaging. And I like having a chance to we're getting a history of the family without getting a history of the family just by seeing the work product. Now we're going to pan, we're still panning right now. We're going back in time a little bit. We're going to see kids hiding. So this is going to be 30 years ago. Kids are hiding. It's young Alex and young Daniel. Daniel is taking it upon himself to protect his younger brother. He's leading him by the hand. They're running. They're scared. Particularly Daniel is scared. And we're going to see that Daniel is going to hide Alex in like an armoire. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at here, but he's going to hide him in a piece of furniture. And a man comes up to Daniel once Alex is hidden. So Alex hasn't seen this part. You can probably hear it, but he hasn't seen it. A man comes up to Daniel and asks him for help. He's got an arrow in his side and he's pleading for his life. And Daniel, instead of helping him, he calls out to his family so that the family can find the guy. He says, he's in here. We're going to see a young bride, which is Helene. She is pleading, she's crying for the family to stop, but they're holding her back. And he's shot with another arrow. And then we're going to see a bunch of the adults have masks, hoods on. And Daniel's mom comes over, also Alex's mom, but she comes over to Daniel. We hear Andie MacDowell's voice, but we don't see her face. And she says, I'm so proud of you, Daniel. And the man with the arrows in him is going to be taken away. Helena's in her wedding dress and she is devastated. And the door to the game room is shut. We see the Ladomas door. So the family's name is Ladomas. So we're going to now go to 30 years later. That's just a formative incident. That's just to give us a sense of the stakes and to give us a sense of Daniel's position and Alex's position. Because Daniel has something that he might have lived to regret. Alex doesn't really. Alex was shielded from the worst of it. So, okay, 30 years later, we're going to see Grace, the next generation. She's in a wedding dress now. She's practicing her vows in a room upstairs. And she's, adding some language, your fiance, she's saying, yeah, my fiance's family is rich. His dad hates her. Alcoholic brother hits on her, but she can't wait to be a part of the family. And she's going to smoke a little bit. Alex is then going to come in and interrupt this, and he's going to smoke too. So they smoke. Maybe they should go to their wedding now. Might be time. Alex is like, she's like, I don't think the family really likes me. He's like, look, we sprung this on them. I mean, they use like 3 years of courtship as part of the process. She's like, we did 18 months. She's like, it was a bonathon. He was like, it was an 18-month bonathon. Alex says, but really seriously, who cares what they think? They're horrible people. And she's like, well, I care. We're going to learn as the film goes on why they feel the way they do about this family. But we're seeing straight away that Alex isn't interested. He's actually been estranged from this family for quite some time, but he's back right now because he's getting married, which begs some questions for all of us, I think, but we'll get into that. Daniel's going to come in to fetch them. It's time to get going. He's going to playfully wrestle with Alex. He's got a little bit of a sheen. I enjoy the fact that that Daniel just gets a little more drunk as the film goes on, just progressively more drunk. Daniel turns to Grace. He's like, it's not too late to flee. You don't belong in this family, and I mean that as a compliment. And she's gonna look with love at Alex. She's like, nope, I'm all in. I'm doing this thing. But Alex is sort of taking that message in a different way. It's like Daniel's really, it's more, it's not too late to flee for Daniel to Alex than it is to Grace, because Grace doesn't have the context, but Alex does. So Daniel's like, all right, I guess nobody's making that move. So congrats, you fuckface. And he's, they have a nice little playful relationship. As much as Alex has been estranged from the family, he obviously has a love for Daniel, and Daniel has obviously always felt a protectiveness over Alex. Alex is kind of blinking it off, but you can feel that he's fighting an instinct. Grace says, well, in half an hour, I'm going to be part of a Ladomas gaming dynasty. Empire. He's like Dominion. We go with Dominion. He's just like, oh, Dominion, great. He's feeling a little weird. He's like, maybe like we could leave. Seriously, I'm giving you an out. She says, no thanks. I'm all in. He says, all right, are you ready for this? She says, fuck no. And then we're going to get some Beethoven. So a little string music, ready or not, flashes on the screen. And now we're going to see the wedding photos happening. There's the camera kind of comes over the roof of the house. We're going to see a whole bunch of assortment of different combinations of people in the family taking photos with each other. So it turns out the father of the family does feel like Alex could have done better. He's like, it's been 2 years since Alex has been home. Where has this boy been? Grace, meanwhile, in her own set of pictures, she is withering under Helene's gaze. Helene's just like stock still, and it's like she doesn't want anybody to have a happy marriage or a happy wedding because she remembers what happened to her 30 years ago. Daniel is taking his picture with Grace, and he's like, look, they're just trying to figure out if you're a gold digging whore like my wife. That's it. That's all they want to know. We're gonna meet Charity, his wife, who is just mean. She's like, she'll never be one of us. Daniel says, of course not. She has a soul. He's pretty jaded about that marriage, I guess. The sister, Emily, she's late, and they're thinking that's Fitch's fault. Dad's thinking, is Grace one of us? Really? I guess we'll find out. So now we're going to see Becky, Alex's mom, played by Andie MacDowell. She is going to approach Grace. She's smoking. She's got this very pretty cigarette case. And Grace, she's like, do you want to smoke? Grace is like, I don't smoke. Well, you just did a minute ago. So she's trying to, put up an appearance. She's trying to make friends with the family. She's feeling pretty nervous. Becky is like, you know what? Yeah, I felt the same way. People didn't receive me well, but whatever. Stand tall and fuck them. That's it. She's like, and anyway, their opinions don't matter. Just Alex's opinion matters here. And we know what he thinks. So it's all good. And we see Alex smiling at her from his position, getting his photo taken. So they're going to get married. Everybody's clapping, except Helene. Helene's like, she's so angry. She's just still as can be. They're going to walk back down the aisle, and the camera is going to focus in on the house. Because time's going to go by. The rest of the reception's going to happen. We don't need to see all that. We need to see after the wedding. So Alex and Grace are going to go back to his bedroom. And she wants to hook up, but he's got to tell her something. Like the night actually isn't over. There is still a little bit more responsibility to be taken care of. And then they're both interrupted because Aunt Helene is now in the room. She came in through the service corridor, which Grace didn't even know about. Helene's like, you'll have to hide better than that. She's like, we weren't, though. We weren't hiding. Helene says, we're waiting. And she's going to leave real awkwardly. Alex is like, okay, that was what I was trying to tell you. We actually have one more thing to do, and that is we have to play a game at midnight, exactly midnight, and that's it. That's it. That's all we have to do. So you draw a card, we figure out what game you're going to play. What's on the card is what you play. Could be any game. It's just an initiation, very important to the family, and you do have to play. Just once, though. That's it. And then we're done. And she agrees. He's like, all right, well, go meet me in the game room. She's like, sure, I'll figure out where that is. Sounds good. She's going to start walking down the stairs. Alex is in the dining room. He's looking at an empty chair at the head of the table. And we are going to find out later that is because when he was 5, he had a vision of Mr. LaBelle in that very chair. Nobody else in the family who's currently alive has ever seen Mr. LaBelle except Alex, which makes some think that he is special. So he's looking at this empty chair. Like he's just like daring Mr. LaBelle, whoever Mr. LaBelle is, because we haven't been introduced to him yet. He's just like daring Mr. LaBelle or pleading with him. We don't know what he's thinking, but it's like, what do you want from me, man? So his dad comes in and he says, I'm sure Mr. LaBelle is with us today. How much have you told her, by the way? We're going to see Grace still walking through to get to the game room with everybody else. Alex is like, well, I've told her nothing, and I'm not ever going to tell her anything because tomorrow we are going to leave, but I'm never going to see any of you ever again. his dad says, well, if she pulls the card, are you prepared to do what's necessary? We don't know what that means, but Grace is now going to walk into sort of like the pre-game room. There's a waiting room. Is it a smoking room? What is this room? And we are going to hear the butler who's been playing piano. It now turns into a wedding song. And so we're going to see Becky, Alex's mom, comes over to Grace. She's like, Alex didn't tell us you were brought up in foster homes. Let me just bring that up now. Grace is like, well, yeah, my foster parents were always great, but it was always temporary. I wanted a real full-time permanent family. And Alex knew how important it was for me to have that permanent family, which, okay, it gives us a little context why things have happened the way they have, why he hasn't told her anything. Maybe I need some more explanation around this myself. Becky likes her, and they're very grateful that Grace has brought Alex back into the fold. She wants her to keep him there. Grace is like, you bet. And she will, but at what cost? Alex is going to come over and he's going to steal Grace away because he's very suspicious of the conversation she's having with his mom right now. He's not really feeling that great. He wants to get this thing done real quick. So we're going to see kids run into the room wearing masks, the masks that we saw from 30 years ago. And Daniel gets very upset. He wants them to take it off. Fitch is like, this guy, what is up with Daniel? He doesn't like, there's no love lost between Daniel and Fitch. Fitch and Emily come in. So Emily, who is Alex's sister, who missed the wedding, but came in just in time for the midnight game. They are both going to meet Grace. Emily is very enthusiastic. She's also very high. She's got a bunch of Coke on her nose. And Elaine hates this child. She's like, ah, yes, brown-haired niece, you continue to exist. But Emily's like, we're going to be these great friends. It's going to be so exciting. Anyway, it's time to play the game. Alex is clearly nervous. And why? We don't know. They go into the actual game room, but this one's for family members only. So the butler has to stay outside. He's going to shut the door, let them in. And now we're going to get some very important exposition. We're going to get the father explaining the tradition and really the backstory first. So first of all, their great-grandfather, his great-grandfather, Victor, had set up a modest printing shop during the Civil War. They made playing cards, and the next generation went into sporting goods and board games. And then he, the father, he's acquired 4 pro sports teams. So they've really built this dominion, if you will. But they feel like somebody's been watching over them. And it all started with, he holds up a weird looking antique box. And he says, it started with this box and a benefactor. Our great-grandfather, my great-grandfather, was a merchant seaman. And he says, you know, on one particular trip, he met a passenger named Mr. LaBelle. He was a very rich man. He was a collector of exotic antiques, and he would sell them to wealthy Americans. Read, a lot of people have a situation just like this happening in their homes today. So LaBelle had this box. Grace is looking at it, trying to make sense of it. LaBelle proposed a wager. He says, if you, great-grandfather, can figure out the mystery of this box, I guess open it. By the time we get to port, I will finance any endeavor you so choose. And the great-grandfather figured it out, and he got his business financed, and it led to all the riches that they have. But there was a catch. Of course there was a catch, because if they win, the deal is anytime a new family member joins the family, they just have to play a game. So what you do is you put a blank playing card in this box, and then the person who just married into the family pulls it out, and whatever game they get is the game they have to play. We get some examples of previous games from the people who married into the family. We've got chess, we've got Old Maid, harmless, totally fine. So Grace is going to take her turn. She's going to take a card out, and it says hide and seek, and she thinks that's funny. But everybody else is dazed and upset. Alex is terrified. Daniel is frozen. Nobody's speaking. Well, these are the rules, right? We have to play hide and seek, right? Yeah, we have to play hide and seek. Alex goes along with it at first, and So he kind of pulls Grace in and says, meet me in my room. And so she is going to toast to Mr. LaBelle, and everybody's like, nobody really wants to toast. This is awkward. So everybody's quiet, and dad explains the rules. He's like, you can hide anywhere. We're going to count to 100, then we have to find you. Simple as that. So easy. But we'll turn off the cameras. We try to do this the way it would have been done back in my great grandfather's days. So, how do you win? Oh, easy, right? You just stay hidden until dawn. So fun to do on your wedding night. She's like, yeah, no, thank you. We're going to get the butler turning off the cameras. And then he's going to put on the record. It's a song called, it's the hide and seek song from Headquarters Music. Sounds a little old timey, feels right for the situation, feels good to play it on vinyl, even though I don't know if it's playing on vinyl for real in the back, but we've got the sound effect of it. Okay, Grace is going to run up the stairs. We're going to see one of the maids reading a bedtime story to Fitch and Emily's boys. Grace wants to make it a little easier to walk around. She's still in her wedding dress, which she figures, all right, at least I can take off my shoes. And then we're going to watch as the family is getting armed with weapons. Feels like we could have maybe missed a little bit of information about what this game is actually going to be. And they're all not current weapons. They're just stuff that they're pulling off the walls. Some of these weapons I can recognize, some of them I cannot. But it was a couple of them have guns. We're going to see Emily has a pistol, Becky has a bow and arrow, Helen has an axe. Charity, I'm trying to figure out what this weapon is. It looks like I don't know. It looks like a sling that you'd shoot in the ocean. But walk me through what that one is. Daniel has a gun, and Fitch gets a crossbow. He's like, "What do I do with a crossbow? What's this?" So they're going to stand in formation. And we're going to, count down. Grace is hiding in a dumbwaiter. And then we're going to hear the song go, ready or not, here I come. Alex, meanwhile, is sitting frozen in this room. And his mom's like, just stay here, sweetheart. We'll take care of it. She goes over to Charity. She says, you guard the door / Alex. Make sure he doesn't get out. And the second the door is closed, Alex is going to go out through the service door into the whole service passageway so he can get to Grace. Family starts searching for Grace. Charity's going to go check on Alex and finds out, oops, he's not there anymore. She had one job, didn't work out. Meanwhile, he's making his way over to the bedroom. Fitch is walking with Alex's mom, Becky. He's like, how long does this usually take? Becky's like, there's nothing usual about this. This doesn't happen. Fitch is unclear how to use a crossbow. He's probably not going to be much help in this situation. Becky makes it very clear. She's like, I don't like you, right? Like, why are we walking together? Grace is hiding in the dumbwaiter, and she's like, seriously, how long am I going to do this for? She's just done with this situation. She's going to start to come out of the dumbwaiter, but her dress catches on it, and it tears a little bit. She just rips it out. This dress is going to take a beating in this film. My understanding, because I think at one point I watched a bunch of like behind the scenes stuff, and they had a whole section in the costume. The costume designers had a closet for Samara weaving, and it was just all iterations of this dress. But they had like, I don't know, a number of stages of this dress, maybe 8 stages of the dress, at all different points, different levels of like length, different levels of tearing, being blood soaked. They had kind of worked out all the details of that, and they just had them lined up for her. Anyway, getting ahead of myself, the maid is going to wake up, and she fell asleep on the job, and little Georgie's gone. So oops, she's going to have to go find him. She goes looking for Georgie. She's calling through the hallways, Georgie, Georgie. Grace hides from her, even though Grace came out into the hallway, but she's going to hide from the maid. And she's going to hide right outside the room she was supposed to meet Alex in, which he is in. So he pulls her in real quiet. And then he's going to grab her and keep her quiet. He's going to hide her behind the bed in the bedroom. And the maid is looking for Georgie. She's wearing her little black dress. She's, looking for Georgie. She steps into the room, looks around, doesn't see him. She hears a noise outside. That could be Georgie. She starts to walk out and she's shot in the face. She's shot in the face. And Emily, we hear Emily shouting, I got her, I got her. And Emily is going to run in. The family's going to come in. They're like, that's Clara. That's not Grace. You see, the difference is it's Clara, not Grace. And she's wearing a little black dress. And the person you wanted to kill was actually wearing a wedding dress. Totally different. So Emily is, she's going to make some mistakes. All right. She's going to make some mistakes in this film. So we also are really wondering about Emily's choices because this maid was shot in the face. Clara was shot in the face, but Grace needs to be just maimed so she can be kept alive for the ritual. Okay, Emily? So the whole family's in here now, and Grace is hearing all of this because she and Alex are hiding behind the bed in this room. Daniel's like, well, if she dies, does it count? Elaine's like, no, it has to be the bride. Alex is watching Grace just take all this in because this is the moment. This is the conversation that he needed to have with Grace that he never had with Grace. And now this is how she's receiving the information. Unfortunately, too little too late here for Alex. He's just trying to process. He's watching her take it in. He just wants to see how that's going to go. Emily's going to lean down to Clara, the maid, and the little blood's going to spurt up and she's going to stand up real quick. And they need to dispose of Clara. And Becky's like, well, we don't want Grace to see this and be alerted to what's happening. And so everybody's starting to panic. But in the moments when people start to panic, that's really when Becky comes into her own. She's like, give me the fucking lanterns. And they pick up Becky and they're going to leave. Grace is now completely dazed. Alex steps into action. He needs to get her out of there. He needs to get her to safety. He can't find their phones. Grace is like, what is happening? Like, WTF, honey. Alex says, see, you pulled the one bad card is the thing. They think they have to kill you before sunrise is the problem. Come with me. We'll explain this somewhere safe. So he's going to hide her. They're going to go into the service passageway. They're going to go into the service hallway. It's interesting to me that in this film, we never really see the family think to look in the service hallways. And you just assume that's because they're rich people who never even consider the service hallways. Like, they've probably never been in the service hallways. They don't even know what's there or how to get around or how to find their way to different rooms. And it would seem like Alex used to play in the service hallways when he was younger. So he's pretty familiar with them. And we'll also see that Daniel knows them too. So those two probably got really familiar with the ins and outs to play in them. But the adults, I mean, why should we be in a service hallway? That's going to be their mistake because they probably could have gotten this done a lot quicker. But anyway, so Emily is going to come back into the bedroom for a second to pump herself up. She's like, okay, girl, like, no more fuck ups. You're a winner. And she's going to snort some more Coke and she's going to get excited and then she's going to grab her gun and she's going to go. We're going to see Alex and Grace hurrying through the service corridor. And she's going to put on her yellow sneakers. We're just getting her fitted out into the attire that we know her to be in by the end of the film. And he's going to explain, he's going to give her a little bit more detail because I think a little bit more detail is warranted here. He says, okay, so they think that if they don't kill you, something bad's going to happen to the family. I had to play along to get you out. The house is on lockdown, though. That's the problem with this game. It's one of the problems with this game. Grace is like, stop. You knew about this. Alex is like, but this doesn't ever happen. This is the outcome that never happens. So meanwhile, we're going to come back to this conversation because I too, if I were Grace, there is nothing that Alex can say here, but we need something to keep this film going for a little while. So Fitch, we're going to break this up. Fitch is in the bathroom right now. He can hear this conversation they're having, but he can't with that right now because he needs to figure out how to use his crossbow. So he is currently watching a YouTube video about getting to know your crossbow. These little moments with Fitch are so good. Okay, so back to Alex and Grace. Alex is like, so here's the thing. If you didn't pull a card at all, if we didn't come here, if we didn't play the game, we'd both be dead. When you marry into the family, you have to play a game. If not, you die. And others have died if they married into the family and didn't play. You have to play. Grace is like, you said your family was fucked up. You didn't say psycho killers. Just as you brought me here, you didn't warn me. All valid. Everything Grace is saying here, I applaud her for this. Don't you be gaslit. Like this isn't it. Alex says, you wanted to get married. She's like, no. What? I can't believe he tried it, but he did try that. And God bless him. Well, you're the one who wanted to get married. This is in no way a reasonable possible thing to how could she have thought this would happen? Nope. The onus was not on Grace to guess that her family had a pact with Satan. It's so funny to me. Like he knows as soon as it comes out of his mouth, like I shouldn't have gone there. That wasn't it. That was wrong. So he's like, okay, like we couldn't have eloped. We couldn't have done this. We had to have the wedding here. We had to play the game. Grace says, yes, but you could have told me. Honestly, we just need a moment for Alex to say, yes, I could have told you, but he didn't. And why didn't he? And this is something that his mom is going to make an interesting point about later, but he doesn't have the words for this. He is a coward is what he is. He's so cowardly, and he's so cowardly he can't even say he was a coward. Yipes. Okay. So she's like, you could have told me. He says, if I told you, or if I didn't propose to you, you would have left. Okay. So Alex saw her as a way out. Alex saw her as a safe haven. He had become estranged from his family on purpose. He was initiating that. And Grace was a new choice, a new way of life. And he didn't want to leave her and have to go back to them. Okay. This helps. It helps me to have this line, because otherwise there's no way I can get on board with Alex for the rest of this film. But at least we have this moment where it's like, but you would have left me. Okay, I still have problems with his choices. Let's make no mistake about that. Bad choices. But he said something that makes a little sense to me about why he was being so cowardly. But he was still a coward. She now needs to run. He's like, we'll deal with this later. Just save yourself. You're going to go this way, then this way, and this way, and then you're going to get to the kitchen. Okay. Stay in the service corridor until you get to the kitchen. And then he's going to go, because he's going to go to the security room, and he's going to turn. Basically, he wants to get it so that the doors are unlocked again. And in doing that, he'll also be able to see where she is. Grace starts walking with some purpose. Her dress is too long. She's tripping over it. So we're going to get this great moment. She sits down. She tears her dress so it's shorter. And now she's more mobile, more ready to fight, or at least more ready to run, for that matter. And so we're going to get her power song coming on. She's walking again. But which door goes to the kitchen? She's at a fork in the road, and she's not quite sure. She can't remember which door was supposed to go to the kitchen. So meanwhile, Daniel and his dad and Helene are carrying the maid's dead body, Clara's body. They don't know where Grace is. She could be anywhere. And then Grace comes out of the wrong door. Daniel's like, found her. Adam Brody, so good. They're going to go to shoot her, but unfortunately, Emily comes up on the other side of Grace, and she starts just wildly shooting at everything and everybody. And everybody drops to the floor. Grace is going to run. The dad's like, Emily, aim for the center of gravity. Emily's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, another chance to get Grace, another chance lost because of Emily. Grace runs to the billiard room. She's checking the windows. They're locked. She checks the phone. It's cut. She's going to hide. fearfully against the service passage door. And she's like hyperventilating. And then Daniel comes out of the service passageway. And he's like, you had to be in this room, didn't you? He does not want to kill her. He does not want to have any part of this. So he is going to come in. He's going to grab a bottle of wild turkey. He wants a drink for himself. She's afraid. He's like, okay, so the thing is, I'm going to have to call the others. He says, this doesn't end well for you, but I don't want to be the one to serve you up. He apologized to her. He apologized to her. He says, it's true what they say. The rich really are different. He's going to give her a 10 seconds head start. And he sits there, gives her a chance to process that. And then she runs and he starts counting slow as can be. And after a while, he gets to 10 and he shouts, she's in the study, as loud as he can. And everybody looks up from whatever room they're in. And Fitch looks up from his tutorial about pointing the weapon away from you. And Emily looks up from a whole bottle of pills that she's trying to consume pretty much. Charity is going to come into the room and she's going to see Daniel just sitting there having a drink. And she's like, you let her go. And Daniel goes to give her the drink. He says, you know, Alex may have been wrong to keep Grace in the dark, but do you remember how you reacted when I told you? You didn't even blink. You couldn't wait to sign your soul away. She's like, yeah, do you remember what my life was actually like? I'd rather be dead than lose this. He's like, well, okay, fair enough. The family comes in. They see that Grace is gone. And then Charity's like, also, in other bad news, Alex got out of the room. So now the whole family is getting to the room. They're assembling. Okay, all kinds of bad news here. Grace knows what's happening. Clara, the maid, is dead. And she was Fitch's favorite. Emily forgot the gun. So she's weaponless right now, and she's going to need a weapon. She really sucks. I was like, you don't suck, Emily. They're going for positive affirmations, like words of affirmation. Fitch is like, take my crossbow. He doesn't even know what to do with the crossbow. So take my crossbow. It's all good. He's transferring it into her hands as a second maid rushes into the room. And as the crossbow hits Emily's hands, she accidentally finds a way to shoot it into the maid. Into her throat, I think. Into her mouth, I think. So she's like, why does this always happen to me? Come on. I mean, once again, ruining everything, that Emily. Fitch is like, it's okay. It's okay. Let's get you an edible. We'll even you out. And then as he's walking her out, he says, there's so many great Fitch lines under his breath. He's like, let's find the other one that's still alive and get this cleaned up. There's one more maid for now. So Charity's like, wait. Does that count? Helene's like, no, we have to. And then we hear a gurgle from the second maid who's not quite dead yet. Helene is going to go over. She's going to chop her head off with an axe. And then she's like, we must kill the bride by dawn. Becky's like, okay, everybody, look, work the problem. All right, let's use the security cameras. Helen disputes that. She's like, no, you don't respect tradition. Dad's like, this isn't tradition. This is, great grandfather didn't have cameras. If he had them, he would have used them for sure. She's like, pick and choose the traditions you want. Charity says, okay, I've got a tradition I'd like to change. Let me use a more current weapon than what I'm holding in my hands right now. I have a gun in my purse. Daniel's like, you do? That marriage, let me tell you. And then, he's like, well, at least we're not using the masks again. That was brutal. And his dad's like, well, yeah, that was my dad's idea in the 80s. It was the 80s. What are you going to do? Oh, okay, they have to find, it's okay. Enough of this nonsense. They have to find Grace. Becky says, let's go. Somebody turn on the cameras and let's fan out. Grace is going to run to the game room. And she's going to grab, because she remembers on the wall, there was an 8-gauge shotgun and a whole bunch of shells. And she's going to grab those. She's going to sling the shells over her. They're in like a sash. I'm sure that's not what you call this, but that's the only word I've got. I'm so sorry if you know weapons. And then she grabs the shotgun and we get this moment where she looks in the mirror and she takes stock of herself in her now ripped up wedding dress with her yellow sneakers and a shotgun. She's like, well, this is my night. Alex, meanwhile, has gone to the security room where all the cameras are. Grace is going to finally make her way to the kitchen. She found it. And the external door is locked. Alex hasn't gotten it unlocked yet. She can't shoot the door yet because the butler's going to come in. We hear him whistling Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture, and he's making tea for himself. And Alex sees he has turned on the security camera so he can see that Grace is having to hide from the butler, and he's watching this with great interest. So he can't seem to open the doors. Grace is trying to load the shotgun as quietly as she can while the butler is whistling the 1812 overture. And then he bursts into song, and it gives her a chance to get the shotgun loaded. And the tea is all ready, and the lights come on outside, and the door is unlocked. Okay, so the butler's now going to walk to the door, which is bad because this is the very door that Grace is looking to go out of. So Grace is going to stand and she's going to pull the shotgun on him, and Alex is like, ooh, what's going to happen here? And she's going to try to shoot the butler, but he says, yeah, no, the ammunition is display only, but thanks for playing. Not happening. So instead, she's going to grab the teapot full of hot tea, burning hot water, and she's going to crack it over his face, the whole side of his face. She's going to scald him. And he is going to swing at her with a knife. And he's going to call to the family. She is in the kitchen now. Meanwhile, Daniel and his dad are at the security room door. They find Alex destroying all the security cameras so that they can't see where Grace is. They can't cheat. Alex is like, leave her alone. That's my wife. And he's choking his dad. And Daniel's like, I know, Alex, it's okay. I've got you. Alex is like, help me. She's everything to me. Daniel's like, I know. Just breathe. It's all good. And then his dad comes up and whacks him in the head and knocks him out. And their dad is like, Daniel, whose side are you on with all this? Seriously, what's happening with you? Daniel says, I distracted him. I helped him so you could do that. Dad's going to go out, but without his gun. We're going to see now Grace is running through the hall. She's going to open up the dumbwaiter that she was in before because she wants to hide in that. But somebody's already hiding in there. It's the third maid because it does not pay to be a maid in this movie. And she is very confused. She doesn't know what's happening. But look, all I know is Mr. Ladomas, he just likes the way I dance. I don't know what's going on here. And Grace says, let's just swap. They don't want you. They want me. And the maid's going to call to the family because it's probably going to be in her best interest. Like, these are the people who pay her paycheck. Might as well, right? So she goes to lean out to call the family, but accidentally presses the button on the dumbwaiter that Grace can't see because the maid's blocking it with her body. And the dumbwaiter door starts coming down. And then Grace is like actually trying to lift it and stop it, but it just comes down until it crushes the third maid's body and kills her. Now, I totally understand if Grace was in it for self-defense, but this was not Grace's kill. People are offing themselves in this film. It's so good. So we are going to see Grace is like, okay, she can't hide in the dumbwaiter anymore. And she, the maid's dead and Grace is just going to run. The butler comes up with this burned face and he finds the maid. We're going to see that dear old dad is handcuffing Alex unconscious to his bed. And Becky's like, wait, what are you doing? We're trying to bring him back into the family. Butler comes in. He's like, okay, here's the latest. The doors are unlocked. Can't change that. Dora was crushed, the maid. And Daniel's like, and then there were none. Again, little quippy lines here from Daniel and from Fitch for that matter. The dad is furious. He's like, how is she doing this? She's a little blown twig. Becky says, take a minute, but just a minute. Like, we're going to have to guard the doors, but you take a second here. Helen's going to come in. She's going to say to the dad, you shouldn't have let him leave us. He, as in Alex and I are alike. I knew he would draw that card and he'd have to face the same choice that I faced. Meanwhile, we can see outside the window in this room, Grace is on the roof. She's listening to all of this. Dad says, he's been helping her all along. Helene says, well, he's afraid of who he truly is, like I was, but I shouldn't have fought it. And I know that now. I should have killed Charles myself. Dear old Charles. Alex is meant to lead this family, not run from it. Dad's like, he's hated our pact. He left. He was the good son. Helene says, well, then why is he the only one who ever saw Mr. LaBelle in his chair? Huh? Dad says, well, he was 5. Come on. And they leave. So we're getting a ton more. Grace is getting a ton more information. And frankly, all the more reason why Alex should have said something to her. But it also plants this seed for Grace that, like, maybe, just maybe, if Helene had that turn at some point and thought I should kill Alex, maybe at some point Alex will, or she felt that she should kill Charles, her husband. Maybe at some point Alex is going to feel that way about Grace, and it just plants that seed in her brain that he might not be the safe space that she thought he is. Grace is still on the roof. Everybody has cleared out of the room. We're going to see that Alex, he wakes up because he wasn't actually unconscious for all of that. He heard all of that. And we're going to see in the room below the part of the roof where Grace is standing, Fitch is in a room searching. He's doing a little bit of a Google search right now. Pacts with the devil, real or bullshit? The Fitch stuff is so good. It's so quick. Okay, so he starts messaging with a friend. He's like, what's up, family shit? You know how it is. He is sitting right at a beautiful window. And as we look at him doing all of this, we see Grace drop down from the roof. She's going to see Fitch and she's going to run. He hasn't seen her. And she runs into the area where they had the ceremony. Oh, she got married here earlier. Well, that's a fun memory. Not. She runs and she goes to a barn or stables where there are a bunch of goats. That's another clue. Yep. You know your family that you just married into does rituals if, check all that apply, they have goats. That's one. Some families can have goats and not do rituals. So make sure there's other stuff on the list. But this family, you know, they have a creepy box. They have a creepy ritual around game time. They've got some stuff going on. She is going to hide from somebody who's coming into the barn. And we're going to find out that it's Georgie, the kid that went missing that the maid couldn't find earlier, Emily and Fitch's kid. She's like, okay, he's an innocent one. He'll help her. Nope, he shoots her in the hand. And we're going to get now the first, like, really operatic scream. She's got a vibrato to her that's just outrageous. I've never heard anything so stylized like this. She punches Georgie. She punches him out like a light. And then she gets scared by a goat and falls back. And I don't know how to explain what this thing is. It looks like a door going down to a cellar, but it's more of just like a holding area. What is this thing? It's I don't know. It's like whatever this is. What you would normally put here, I don't know. But in it right now are dead bodies of all sorts, probably some goats, also Charles, and who knows who else. Because we can see the arrows sticking out of Charles, right where the guy from the beginning of the movie had them. Okay, she's fallen into this pit of some description, and she's in this pile of dead bodies, and it's pretty gross. And she's going to see that there's a ladder that you can climb to get out. Don't know why. What is this space? Somebody explain this to me. She's got one functional hand and one that's been shot through, so she can't climb a ladder with this one. So she's just trying to one arm her way up this ladder. When she gets to the top, the ladder falls because it's, you know, this is old, so it's an old ladder. And so now this is the only way for her to get out. So she can't fall back down. So she's starting to slip with the one hand, and she's going to put the other hand up and there's a nail, like a rusty nail, that her hand just goes through because there's a hole in her hand now, and she's going to give it another scream, and she's going to pull herself up, and she is now going to like breathe through the pain. She's going to take off one sleeve of her dress and she's going to wrap it around her hand. So this is another iteration of the dress. And she is going to curse the unconscious kid, Georgie, and she runs out. And Charity's going to watch her run out. So she sees Grace running through the grounds. She tries to shoot her. What is this weapon? Somebody explain to me what this weapon is. It looks, again, when I've watched Survivor, it looks like one of those slings that they use to catch fish underwater. But is it? What are we looking at there? So she tries to shoot whatever this thing is, and she misses. So she's going to find the butler. She's going to say, yeah, I couldn't get her, but Grace is going to the fence, the north fence line. We're going to see Grace get to the gate on that side of the fence, and she sees a car coming, somebody who could potentially save her, but she has to get through the gate first. She can't climb over it. So she sees a loose bar and she tries to pull it. She has incredible strength and she pulls this bar, and then she tries to squeeze through. She's skinny, but unfortunately it's a very tight squeeze, and she's going to rip her dress and she's going to rip some of her skin, but she gets out. She gets clear. So again, now we have another iteration of this dress with a rip in it and a little bit of blood. At least a little bit more blood there. And the car won't pick her up. It slows down and then it speeds past her because not going to pick her up. And she screams at the car. She lets off a string of curses. This woman has a potty mouth, and it's fair, right? It's been a day. She is screaming and she's like, fucking rich people. It feels like the thesis statement for the whole film, no? Okay, we're going to hear 1812 overture being whistled again, and obviously the butler's coming. She's going to hide. He's going to pull up to the gate and he's going to call back to the family. He's like, yeah, so she got out, but I'm going to find her. Don't you worry about it. We'll get this done. Daniel, the whole family is hearing this. Daniel hears it. He's like, oh, can we just go home? Is it time? His dad's really angry. You're not taking this seriously enough. If she lives till dawn, we all die. And he cites examples. He's like, here's the proof. I can think of times. He says, I do, however, wish that our great-grandfather might have negotiated some better terms, maybe get rid of that eradication clause. He's panicking. Becky says, Becky's trying to keep the situation under control. She wants to, when the going gets tough, Becky gets going. She's like, holy dick. I don't know what that expression is. She's like, Fitch, you go get the butler. Emily, you stay there. You cannot be involved in any more of these things. Too many accidents with you. She's like, you're on cleanup duty. Get the maids into the barn, throw them into the pit of bodies. She says, Pumpkin, try not to kill anybody else. So Fitch is talking to Charity. He's like, I don't know. Like, when do we just cut and run from this family? Charity's like, never. She keeps walking. Grace is hiding from the butler. We're going to see Alex is starting to saw through the bedpost, whatever this term is. It's not really, it's the footboard, not the headboard, the footboard. A lot of bed terms that I don't know that I'm trying to explain to you, but he's trying to saw through it. Emily and Daniel, they are throwing bodies into the barn. They're cleaning up. Emily is wondering if the curse is real. I mean, could it really be real? Daniel remembers the last time this all happened because he's old enough to remember, but he doesn't know what Alex remembers is the thing. He thinks Alex deserved to have a better brother, and we all deserve to die, he says. Emily says, yeah, but my kids don't. And you're saying my kids deserve to die? No way. Georgie wakes up, the innocent one that we know isn't so innocent. And he tells Emily that he shot Grace, and she's so proud of him. And Daniel is taking all of this in. He's like, what is to come for the next generation? It's not good. He's disturbed. Grace is running. The butler has her in his headlights. And he is going to get real close to her. He gets out of the car. He tackles her. And then she manages to strangle, she gets the upper hand. She manages to strangle the butler. And with his own, is it his tie that she's got? And she gets into his car and she's going to drive it away. Great. She's got a car now. She can get out of this situation. Very clever. Very well done, Grace. And the car has trip safe. I guess this would be like a version of OnStar or something like that, which I've never used. It's just the only brand I know, but you can push the button and it actually calls an assistant, somebody who's manning the phones to help you. She gets Justin on the line. And Justin's going to be the most customer servicey guy that's ever customer serviced. And she's like, people are trying to kill me, Justin. And she says, call the police, help me. He says, sure. Oh, hold on a second. The computer's acting up. Let me just reboot. She's like, just call the police, Justin. And he's like, well, oh, hold on a second. I'm seeing the car was reported stolen. We're going to have to shut it down. She's like, Justin. No way. Justin, no, Justin. He says, sorry, my hands are tied. Company policy. Haven't we all been there? Isn't this a tale as old as time? Grace is looking around in fear because he shut down the entire car and locked it so she can't even get out. Way to go, Butler. Grace is looking around in fear. She's like, Justin. He's like, anything else I can do for you, ma'am? She's like, go fuck yourself, Justin. It's like, okay, good night. Thanks for using TripSafe. Have a great night. Haven't we all? Anyway, the butler is going to now break the window and he's going to shoot her with a tranquilizer. So she's going to be knocked unconscious. And when she wakes up, she is being driven and she's in the car with Alex. No, that was a dream. She is actually in the back seat and she is being held captive now by the butler, who is whistling the 1812 overture while he gets the family on the phone. So he's going to put the phone on the dash so he can speak hands-free. Just got to be safe, you know? And he's like, all right, I'm coming back with Grace. It's all good. And then he is very excited. He blasts the music and everybody is watching. And they watch as Grace wakes herself up, sits up, and then kicks the butler in the face a couple times until he loses control of the car. The car rolls. This is one of my favorite moments, actually. Just the way the crescendo of the 1812 overture as the car turns in slow motion. And Grace is doing that vibrato scream as the car turns over. It's so good. Something about it is so elegant. I don't know how, it's like, it's beautiful. Am I the only one who thinks this? I might be the only one who thinks this. I don't know. Okay. All right. So this is pretty bad. The call fails. The whole family watches and they're kind of pissed now. Again, Grace is going to get out of the car. Daniel finds her. He's armed. He's got a gun. And he's like, I was just out here to escape the madness and here you are. She's like, you don't want me to die? He says, well, no, I don't want you to die. I like you. And he points the gun at her. He's getting closer. He's like, but I'm weak. She says, no, you're a good guy. Alex loves you. You love Alex. He won't forgive you if you do this. Daniel's still holding her up. He's getting closer. He says, yeah, but I can't let my whole family die. And Grace says, nobody is going to die. What are you people on? Daniel says, no. See, here's the thing. You've got the wrong idea of who I am. Alex is the one who got out. If anybody was going to save you, it would have been him. And he knocks her out with the butt of the gun. And then he calls to whoever's watching. He's like, you can come out now. So this whole thing was a show. We're going to find later. We're still not sure because Daniel's this interesting character. He goes back and forth, but he has a very complicated history that we saw from the 30 years ago scene. So his dad comes out from behind a tree. He's like, all right, well, let's get this done. 1 hour till dawn. We'll prepare her for the ritual. We're going to see Alex is still trying to saw through that part of the bed that I can't describe. And then his mom comes in. She's got her cigarette case. She's going to have a smoke. She's like, look, we have Grace. That's the update. I like her, but we have to protect our family. Alex says, if she dies, I'll kill you. And she's like, well, I guess I'm dead either way. He says, well, how do you know? Maybe nothing's going to happen if we do nothing. And his mom says, and this is an excellent point, if you believe that, you wouldn't have let her draw a card. Touche, Becky. Touche. Why didn't Alex actually say anything to Grace? Because he's pretty sure this thing is real. He didn't want, he thinks it might be real. He didn't want Grace to leave him, but this he felt was his only option. And I'm here to tell you, Alex, this was not your only option. This was a bad option. You're a scumbag. But anyway, his mom is like, why did you leave us, Alex? He says, oh, I don't know. The rituals, the fact that we're a cult. He's like, and it all just started to seem so normal. I like this line. He says, you'll do anything if your family says it's okay. I think it's a good comment outside of this film too. It's a really poignant statement. Well done, Ready or Not, giving us philosophy. Okay, or at least pithy statements. So Grace isn't like all of you. He says, I chose her. If I had to choose between you and her, I would choose her. And his mom doesn't believe that, actually. She challenges him. She says, I think that that a girl that you've known for a year and a half doesn't know you better than I do. So, his mom gets things done. Okay. Becky knows what's up. She's functional in terms of what the family needs. Functional in terms of the rest of human society. No hard pass, but she keeps it consistent. She keeps it solid. Okay, we're going to now get some shots of this beautiful house, and we're going to see people are getting ready for the ritual. We're going to see that Becky is explaining to Emily and her kids what the history of this is. She says, Mr. LaBelle, sometimes he wants something from us in return for our nice stuff, a human sacrifice. So that's the explanation they get. We're going to see Fitch pumping himself up. You got this, Fitch. You got this, Fitch. Don't be a bitch, Fitch. Don't be a bitch, Fitch. Then we're going to see they're all putting on hooded outfits. And Dad is apologizing to Mr. LaBelle. I know it got a little messy, but we got here, okay? He'll all make it right. It's all good. We're going to see Daniel sitting at a table and thinking. He's just considering. We never know what Daniel's thinking when he's thinking, but we can't wait to find out. Alex is active. He's sawing through the bed, the piece of the bed that I can't describe. He's still working on that. Grace wakes up. We're going to see just shots of dead animals mounted to walls. And she is tied to the table. And we're speaking in Latin. We've got a ritual going. Dad's leading it. He sips a drink. Almost all of them take a sip. We don't see Daniel take a sip. We get some chanting. They're going to renew their pledge. And they just get to the point where they go, Hail Sate. And then that word is cut off because all of them feel just a little bit ill about the same time. And they start puking up poison. Okay, I've got to tell you. So I think I mentioned this in another one of my videos, but I don't know if any of you relate to this, but I have been emetophobic my entire life. Fear of vomiting, me vomiting, anybody vomiting. Film, movies, and TV heavily use the convention of people vomiting. Sometimes you see it coming, sometimes you don't. This film has a lot of it. And for me, while scary movies are not scary, vomit scenes always happen. I have been working on this recently in the last year, and I have gotten through the exposure therapy level of film and TV. I can watch this stuff now. So there are scenes that I'm able to watch now that I was not able to watch before. And in this movie, we've got Grace pukes at one point. We've got the whole family puking at this point. So there's, it's a little bit of a messy film for that phobia. It's so tough because when you've got specific phobias, you never get trigger warnings about that stuff in these films. Like, yeah, if it's a creepy clown film, it's a creepy clown film. But a lot of times, People get scared. I heard of somebody recently who told me that they couldn't watch Paranormal Activity because there was a spider shown in it, and there was a spider shown for like a second, and it had nothing to do with what was happening in the film. But that's why the person had to turn it off. And I was like, yeah, this happens. I don't know. Anyway, maybe somebody out there relates to like a phobia that takes you out of a film, or that you have a hard time working around when you're watching TV and movies. This is not an easy one for that phobia. Okay, that was a personal note. Let's get back to the film. So they're all puking up poison. Yes, that's true. And it turns out it was Daniel that did it, because he's the only one who's not, and he's the only one that we didn't see drinking the whatever was in the cup. So he is going to untie Grace and get her out of there. Meanwhile, Alex breaks through the whatever part of the bed that I can't describe. He breaks through that part of it and he gets himself free. Daniel and Grace are running through the house and they're going to hide under some stairs, but Charity finds them and she's going to point a gun at them. And she's going to shoot Daniel because Daniel will not stop standing in front of Grace. So at this point, Charity is so like disrupted by the fact that she shot Daniel that Grace can come over and take the gun from her. She tries to shoot her, but there are no bullets left. So she's going to knock her out with the gun. And then she goes to Daniel and he's like choking. He's shot in the neck and he's like, go, go. She says, thank you. And she's going to run into another room and she's going to find the dad, who is so angry. He's like, who do you think you are? You're just another sacrifice. You're like a goat. Okay, that's all you are. She is going to grab one of the lanterns and she's going to knock him out, and then she's going to throw the lantern. Not because she wants to set the place on fire, but because she wants to throw the lantern to the side. But unfortunately, well, or fortunately, probably fortunately, she also sets fire to the place. And it's very slowly going to start to spread. We're going to see Alex find Daniel. And he's in the process of dying. Alex goes to him. He's like, no, Daniel, my brother. Grace runs into another room. Meanwhile, Becky, the mom, she's going to find Grace in that room. She's going to shoot her bow and arrow. She's going to miss just a little bit. In her defense, it's been a while. They're going to fight. Daniel dies in Alex's hands. I mean, this is the worst, right? This is the one person in the family that he feels the most connected to. And also sort of his only moral conscience keeper. Like, nobody else is going to keep Alex on the right path aside from Daniel. So it's now Alex is in this for himself. His mom, in the meantime, is choking Grace. And then Grace, she manages to pull the box off the table from the runner. She pulls the runner down. The box comes down, the box with the playing cards. And she smashes Becky in the face with it over and over again until she beats her pretty much to death. Alex has seen this now, and he steps up a little closer to her. She backs up a bit because she's not so sure that she can count that he's on her side anymore. They're both sorry. She's sorry she killed his mom. He's sorry in general, just a blanket sorry. And he's crying. He's like, Daniel's dead. He says, you won't be with me after this, will you? This is where Alex realizes it's all for naught. So he's going to turn right here. He takes her face. She lets him. Maybe that's the Alex she knows, but no, he's squeezing her a little too tight. He's holding her down and he calls for his family. Uh-oh. So she is going to, the family comes in and they see Becky on the floor and they see that Grace is at least now being held captive, but Becky's dead. Becky isn't technically the ringleader, but she kind of is. She was the one who had it together the most. Now, all of this has taken so long that the sun is starting to come up. And the house is very slowly, this fire is starting to spread in different rooms. And the family is holding down Grace. They're not going to bother with the ties and all that. They don't have time for this. They're chanting. Alex is at the head of the table now, and he's got a knife. And they get to the part where they all say, Hail Satan. And he's standing over Grace, looking down at her. And then he says, Hail Satan. There's no coming back from this, Alex. None. He goes to stab her and she rolls enough where he gets her shoulder. So now there's a knife in her arm and she rolls over and she pulls the knife out and she starts pointing it at people. Get back, everybody, get back. She's screaming, she's grunting. And I love how animalistic she is in this scene. It's so good. There's just such animal movement to Samara Weaving here. And then Helen sees that there's a little bit of light coming in through the drapes. And she's like, oh my God, she opens up the drapes, sunlight. It's morning. Helen just starts pleading. She's like, wait, forgive us. No, 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 no. And everybody's waiting. They're like shielding themselves from whatever's about to happen because they don't know. But nothing happens. And the dad's like, well, this is awkward. And Alex is like, Grace is like, don't even. Fitch says, so what do we do with her? Grace. I feel like she knows a little too much now. Helen says, no, we're not doing this. I won't fail Mr. LaBelle again. She grabs the axe because she believes that she should have killed Charles. So at least she's going to kill Grace. She grabs the axe and she says, the girl still dies. And she runs at Grace and explodes. Definitely did not see this coming the first time I watched this film. It's like the Blob. Remember the movie The Blob? It's like the Blob explodes and it just goes everywhere. And then we're going to hear the song Hide and Seek start again because the record player has started itself back up. Everybody is covered in Helen's blood and, Helen. And then we're going to see Fitch one at a time. Fitch is like, wait. And then he explodes. And then Charity explodes. And I love Emily runs out with her 2 kids trying to shield them. And then we get 3 little explosions all at once from outside the room. And Grace starts laughing. Dad starts bargaining with Mr. LaBelle and he explodes. And then Alex is like, wait, no, Grace, don't leave. I don't want to die. She's like, well, neither did I, you asshole. He's like, no. But see, like, I'm not like them. I'm not. I'm really not. You made me better. I left. I'm better now. And look, he's not even taking me. I get a second chance. I get a do-over. And it's because of you, Grace. Grace is like, I want a divorce. And she takes off the ring. She throws it at him. And as soon as the ring hits him, it explodes right in front of her, right into her face. That's the end of that family, so good. Then we're going to see this little burst of fire at the head of the table because there was a fireplace behind the chair at the head of the table. The fire kind of bursts a little bit. And then we see this ghostly figure of Mr. LaBelle appear just very faintly at the head of the table and the chair. Then he disappears again. She's like, whoa. And he nodded at her too, like, okay. All right. And yeah, all right. So genuine show of respect from Mr. LaBelle to Grace. She is going to grab Becky's cigarette case as we see more of the houses catching fire now. All those old-timey games start to burn. We're going to hear a Stereo Jane cover of Love Me Tender as Grace comes out to the place where they had the ceremony the day before. And she's got, the house is burning behind her. She's got a previously white dress that's now like a burgundy color from all the blood that's soaking it. It's torn. She's got her sneakers on. She sits down on the steps and she smokes one of Becky's cigarettes because she said no, she doesn't smoke earlier, but now she's going to take one of Becky's cigarettes. What's hers is mine, she thinks. And the cops have arrived at the house and somebody comes through, they find her, they check on her and they're like, oh my God, are you okay? What happened? She's like, in-laws. And we close out to Love Me Tender. So good. I love this film. I love this film so much. It's so fun to watch Grace. She makes decent decisions. She makes good decisions. I don't know what other decisions she's supposed to make. I feel like I would probably do worse if I were in her situation. I like the complexity of Alex and of Daniel. And I like that you don't necessarily know what to think about either, but they kind of switch positions by the end of the film. It's just so good. I have so much fun with this film, and I can't wait to hear what people think about it, because that's what I thought about it, and I'd like to know what you think about it and what I've missed. Tell me the things that I've missed. Also, so one of the things I'm asking people to do for these EEKtober films is take out your scary meter, because mine is busted. I'm so desensitized to horror films. I don't know how scary they are anymore, but I like to know when something is safe to recommend to people and kind of what level it sits at. So please take out your scary meter and rate this film from 1 to 10 in terms of how scary you think it is. 1 being, this is not a scary film, to 10 being so scary, scariest thing I've ever seen, and anything in between. Let's see where this one lands. I'm really curious about this one, because I have in fact recommended this before to people. In fact, I said it was a not too scary film. Was I right? I guess we'll see. Next time, it's actually today. If you haven't already watched the second part of this double feature, it's time to do it now. Hush is the film that I always close out with for Halloween. It's from 2016. It's a home invasion film. It's a Mike Flanagan film. It's the only Mike Flanagan film that's actually on my list. I just love it. I guess it's similar to this one in the like the fact that we're doing like a cat and mouse game through a home. I don't know, home invasion. But different in so many other ways. Tonally, very different. But I feel that they're a fun little combo. So I hope you enjoy that one. Happy EEKtober and happy Halloween, everybody. Get spooky, get donuts.